Finally, fresh violence has erupted in the U.S. city of Ferguson, where activists are marking the first anniversary of the killing of an unarmed black teenager by a white officer. At least one person was injured after a group of protesters and riot gear officers faced off in Ferguson. The St. Louis County Police Department has confirmed those clashes, saying multiple shots were fired. Violence broke out at the end of a somber day in remembrance of 18-year-old Michael Brown, who was killed last year. Brown's death set off months of angry and sometimes violent protests against widespread police brutality and racial bias. The killing also ignited a national debate over police's use of excessive force against African Americans.
The protesters assembled at Barclays Center, a stadium and shopping area in the borough of Brooklyn, New York, to commemorate the death of Michael Brown and denounce police brutality against African Americans. Kalisa Moore of the People's Power Assembly hailed the people of Ferguson, Missouri for their rebellion, which made headlines around the world and inspired protests across the country.
We call this action today for Michael Brown, to remember Michael Brown, but also to bring awareness and also to acknowledge the impact that the Ferguson community has had on each and every one of us.
Kiana Taylor, a high school student who joined the demonstration, says police brutality is part of everyday life for black youth in the United States.
Police appearances everywhere I see, everywhere I go. It's heavily inside the schools as well. We see nothing but police officers. We have to go through metal detectors, put our badge through metal scanners so they can peek inside. And it's just like, before we even grow up and experience the world, we're already criminalized just by going to high school.
As the protesters marched into the streets, they were followed by the Strategic Response Unit of the New York City Police Department. Several protesters were grabbed from the crowd and arrested following tense confrontations between the crowd and the police. The demonstration concluded near the Brooklyn Borough Courthouse. The protesters denounced the court system for not holding officers accountable as the number of people killed continues to rise.
Before that was Eric Garner. After that was Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, and the names go on and on and on and on.
The protesters described themselves as part of a nationwide movement demanding an end to police brutality. Demonstrations commemorating Michael Brown took place throughout the city as the day went on. Caleb Maupin, Press TV, New York.